Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 44th Energy Intelligence Forum. I stand before you today at a critical point for the world and the world of energy. We have often held this conference during moments and very momentous moments in the world. The first event took place after the Iranian Revolution in 1979. We gathered months after the Iraq invasion of Kuwait in 1990, and we came together a month after Saudi Arabia's oil facilities were attacked in 2019. But today, it is not just events, we are tracking a big global shift. In the theme of our event, Energy in a Divided World, we are looking at the forces that are pulling us apart. The cracks started opening up last decade, but have become pronounced in the last year. We see divisions open up in many places, particularly with global and local politics, which are driving divergent approaches to the energy transition. However, the biggest divisions are being driven by open conflict. The world now faces two dangerous wars in Europe and in the Middle East. Both conflicts have opened up wounds that have long been unhealed, and both involve support from outside powers. Either could spark a catastrophic wider war. So where are we heading? Until 1990, the world of energy was divided between the communist and non-communist spheres of influence. The collapse of the Soviet Union and the beginning of the integration of the two spheres. The world prospered by the powers of globalization and becoming one global market. In this unified world, energy sources, technology, and trade flowed to the countries that needed them. Developed and developing nations were able to secure reliable and affordable energy. Producing nations were able to get a fair price for their natural resources. The question we aim to answer this week is whether these divisions we see all around us are driving us back towards the two worlds of energy. The conflicts between the US and Russia, between the US and China, look similar to the Cold War. In that world, there were two energy systems, one in the Western sphere of influence and one in the Eastern sphere of influence. Today, we see Russian energy heading east, supplying China and India, severed from the massive European market right next door. Meanwhile, Europe is importing higher-priced gas from the Americas. The challenge for us this week is understanding whether these divisions can be patched. Both current conflicts have the power to accentuate the divisions, or they could force cooler heads to prevail, bringing together all sides to prevent catastrophe. Governments and energy companies are funding research, but their work is likely to take more than a decade. Financiers have placed the majority of their funding in renewable and green solutions, but we are no closer to a solution that fixes the world's energy needs or immediate climate solutions. Deliver the technology ideal for that approach, and in the meantime, use the best application of technology that you already have. We are doing that as an industry. 60 years ago, George Marshall spoke at a commencement at Harvard, and he announced a plan to assist the nations of post-war Europe. He said, I quote, "I think one difficulty is that the problem is one of such enormous complexity that the very massive facts presented to the public by press and radio make it exceedingly difficult for the man in the street to reach a clear appraisement of the situation. It is virtually impossible at this distance to grasp all the real significance of the situation. The magical thing about the connected world that we live in is not just that it collapses distance and it makes everyone your neighbor. It also dramatically increases the number of brilliant minds we can bring together working on the same problem. And it scales up the rate of potential innovation to a staggering degree. There is no question that energy companies have used their power to improve the lives of people here and around the world. But can we do more? Can energy intelligence dedicate its knowledge to improving the lives of people who may never have known its name? Our mission has been to bring together leaders, decision makers, and thinkers to develop solutions. After 70 years of covering the industry, and over a decade of covering new energy technologies, and 4 years of servicing the industry with the conversation of the century, to tackle these complexities, we decided to launch a public service to civil society and all concerned parties, to provide a neutral space and an independent environment to drive constructive conversation, to transparently meet the solutions that can meet the climate goals of the planet. You can find this call to action on the flyers on our Conversation of the Century desk next to registration or to your left. We recognize and honor the new young leaders initiated by the industry's need to seek out the best minds dedicated to solving our biggest problems. I can say that each of the new graduates here are taking on an issue, a complex problem, and have become a specialist on it. This should not only be the conversation of the century, but the century of realignment ahead. A world divided is a world that cannot advance. So let us take what we know to be true and boldly and impactfully state the truth and decomplexify an imbalanced supply-demand economy into a supply for diminished demand economy for energy. We at Energy Intelligence can and we must ensure it. Those who wish to damage our efforts should learn that they are stinting human civilization and risk taking us backwards rather than forwards into a brighter future. We gathered here are already working towards this. Together, citizen, activist, executive, politician, and journalist alike, let us be the intelligent ones and use the power of connection to shape our energy future landscape. To take you through how we intend to tackle these challenges over the next 3 days, it is my pleasure to introduce you and hand over to Alex Schindelar, President of Energy Intelligence.
Well, thank you, Lara. Thank you, everyone, for braving what Peter described as the gauntlet. I hope we all got through all right. So I will take you through the day. I want to say a few words to begin this conference. 1 year ago, I stood in front of everybody, and I was hopeful that in a return to live events post-COVID, that we would be able to come together to address some of the biggest energy issues. But I think, as you can see, and also I think hear, coming together, at least on the surface, seems to be a bit elusive. So as Lara underlined, the theme of this year's event, Energy in a Divided World, gives us plenty of reasons to be concerned about the divisions we face. But I'm optimistic. And let me tell you why. Divisions don't always have to be negative. They can breed that competition to drive innovation. Look, for example, in the 1960s, during the competition between the US and the Soviet Union, that drove a space race that accelerated innovation. But divisions also mean there's a need to bridge divides with compromise. And it means that the strongest nation or the loudest voices are no longer strong enough or loud enough to bend everyone to their will. So in a divided world, there must be an honest acknowledgement that the sides will not agree on everything. But that does not mean they can't agree on some things. So I spent the last year participating in and leading discussions with energy executives, with governments, with academia, with civil society. And I found, actually, there's a willingness to engage on multiple levels of this energy debate. At the center, people want to hear the facts and different opinions. They want discussions with people they don't agree with. I've talked to government officials from the Americas to the Far East, and they're all searching for ways to reconcile the issues of energy security and their commitments to net zero, which are not easy, as everybody knows in this room. I've heard from incumbents and startup companies that are pouring millions, if not billions of dollars into amazing new technologies. And divisions, by the way, aren't everywhere. I've talked to university students around the world that understand these issues extremely well. They do not have hardened views and actually are really hungry to learn more. So this makes me believe there are enough people from all parts of society that have the innovation, the funding, and the drive to find solutions to these tough problems, to overcome these divisions that we see. Unfortunately, these people are being drowned out by the loudest voices on the extremes, who are attracting all the attention. They make it seem like the world has no chance of compromise. If you listen to these voices, you'd miss that the pace of the energy transition is still gaining momentum. Our proprietary research at Energy Intelligence shows that a combination of policy and technology shows that we're moving even quicker to a lower carbon energy future. Now, believe me, a lot more is needed, but we are far better off than we were only a few years ago. So let me be clear with everyone inside this room and outside this room. We believe the only way to solve the world's energy challenges is by coming together. At Energy Intelligence, we believe we have a key role to play in this. As many of you know, we're a media company. We're built on a foundation of journalism and research. We're energy specialists that cover all forms of energy. And we've been covering this sector for 70 years. We aim to be fair and independent, and therefore, when it comes to dealing with our energy challenges, we absolutely believe in dialogue. We believe in speaking to all sides of the debate, and we believe in creating that middle ground to foster a constructive and a collaborative discussion. It's a very difficult but essential place for us to be. We, as an organization, we do not take sides. We are not advocates. We lay out the facts, and we let people decide. This conference is the embodiment of that independent ethos of energy intelligence. And we know there are many not interested in conversation and dialogue right now, and we understand why. They say the time for talk is over, and we understand that. We understand why that is. But I'm here to say that I've seen the power of dialogue, and it does work. So our challenge this week and going forward is to acknowledge the divisions in this world, work to pull people and the debate back to the middle ground. Now, let me talk a bit about the event this week. So we've got a really strong program in these next 3 days, filled with really the best experts from around the world, from industry, from government, finance, and civil society. As I said, we want to bring as many of those people together to have this conversation. So we're going to focus on the pace of the transition. We'll delve into technologies. We'll look at policies that will speed or slow it. We'll look at COP28 that opens up next month. We'll look at the Ukraine crisis, how that's upended the world of energy, and dedicate a really special session on Thursday, which I hope you'll all attend, to the unfolding situation in the Middle East and wider geopolitics. This evening, I hope you'll all join us for a very special Energy Executive of the Year dinner, where we're going to honor Vicki Hollub, the President and CEO of Occidental. You'll find an exclusive interview with Vicki on your seats, where she makes the case for carbon-negative oil. If you've ever heard of that, Vicki will tell you about it. Tomorrow, we'll honor Repsol for its innovation in decarbonization, setting targets for Scope 3 emissions, and serving as a model for their peers. And on Thursday, we'll be awarding the Energy Economist of the Year award to William Nordhaus, a Nobel Prize winner for macroeconomic modeling of climate change, and whose work helped formulate the carbon credit system that we see all over the world. So it's important to say that this event in its 44-year history would not be possible without the help and assistance of many, many people in this room. So first, thank you to all our speakers and our delegates who make the time and the effort to run through what we saw outside. Thank you to our sponsors. We really deeply appreciate your support for this event this year and going back many, many years. I'd also like to recognize at this point the chairman and CEO of Energy Intelligence, Lara Sidawi, who has really poured his intellectual energy into making this the respected energy provider it is today, and who always challenges us to make energy intelligence and the Energy Intelligence Forum focus unwaveringly on content, especially on geopolitics. Now, of course, we're aptly guided by our amazing board, led by Raja, and the man sitting to his left, Marcel Van Pucke, our vice chairman. I want to recognize Andrew Gould. Where's Andrew? There you go, Andrew, who is the chairman of this forum this week, and he's played an instrumental role in making this world-class agenda as good as it is. Now, all that's left for me to do is introduce your moderator for the opening session, Amena Bakker, who is our chief OPEC correspondent. Don't get up yet. But you probably know her better for her phenomenal social media reach. As someone told me once, if you want to know what OPEC is thinking, you've got to be following Amena. She's what you call Twitter famous. It's X famous isn't quite the same thing, but she literally has fans walking up to her all over the world in restaurants. I've seen it in Riyadh, and now she's here to present the first speaker. So, Amena, the floor is yours. Now you can.